So I want you to picture a scene. It's a gathering of the Association of Documentary Filmmakers.
Right. You can imagine the vibe, intellectual, artistic, a room full of people who capture reality for a living.
Exactly. And they've invited a speaker, Hatam Ghaderi, and the expectation is pretty standard. He's going to talk about cinema, maybe a famous director,
A safe night out for the intelligentsia.
a safe night out. But then Ghaderi gets to the podium and he doesn't talk about camera angles. He basically looks at the room and says, I can't talk about art. We have to talk about the fact that the ground is dissolving beneath our feet.
Such a powerful moment.
Yeah.
He's breaking the social contract of the event to sound an alarm.
He's telling them you can't film society if you don't realize that society has suffered a structural collapse of meaning.
And that's the word he uses, nihilism.
Nihilism. But he pairs it with this Persian concept that I think we really need to unpack for a second. Istisol.
Disticel. It's a tough one to translate directly. People say desperation or impasse, but it's more than that. It's the feeling of being at a complete dead end.
A dead end how?
You can't move forward because the path is blocked, but you also can't go back because that bridge is gone. You're just frozen, in distress.
And that's the diagnosis we're digging into today. This isn't just, teenage angst. We're looking at Ghaderi's argument that Iranian society has moved from a world of what he calls grand ideals into this dangerous void.
And he identifies three very specific ways this void shows up in daily life. Three masks it wears.
Which, when we get to them, I think they're going to feel very familiar. Maybe not just in Iran.
Absolutely. But before we get there, Ghaderi takes us on this philosophical trip way back. He starts with ancient Greece.
Which feels like a detour. I mean, why do we need Aristotle to understand what's happening on the streets of Tehran today?
It seems like one, but it's essential. You can't understand the terror of the void unless you understand what used to fill it. So he contrasts the classical view Aristotle with the later monotheistic one, someone like the Islamic theologian Al-Ghazali.
Okay, so lay out the core tension for us there.
It's all about the origin of the universe. For Aristotle, the universe was eternal. It wasn't created, it just was, always had been.
No start date, no end date.
Exactly. But then the monotheists come along and introduce this radical idea, creation. The universe was made. And this is where Ghaderi zooms in on a tiny linguistic detail that changes everything.
Okay.
He distinguishes between two phrases. The world was created from nothing versus the world came into existence from nothing.
I mean, they sound almost identical. What's the practical difference there?
It's agency. It's intention. If the world is created, then there's a creator, a god, an architect who designed it with purpose, with rules, with meaning.
Like a house. The walls are there for a reason. The roof is there for a reason. There's a why behind it.
Precisely. We're living inside a script.
Yeah.
But if the world just came into existence from nothing, which is the shift modern science brings,
Then there's no architect. It
Yeah.
just happened.
it's a cosmic accident, a bunch of physics and chemistry. And that means there's no inherent meaning, no built-in value system. The universe doesn't care if you're good or bad.
And he lists the usual suspects who kind of chip away at that idea of the architect: Galileo, Kant, Darwin, Freud.
Right. They dismantle the metaphysical ceiling until Nietzsche famously declares God is dead.
Which wasn't a celebration. He was sounding his own alarm, saying, okay, we killed the source of our values, now what?
Now what? The foundation collapsed.
Yeah.
But Ghaderi's point is that while this was a slow drift in the West over centuries, in Iran, it was a crash.
Not a slow erosion, but a sudden amputation.
And to understand that crash, we have to look at what Iran was running on before, the era of grand ideals.
He paints this picture of pre-1979 Iran as a society that was just supercharged with ideology. The fuel tank was full.
Totally. And he says there were three main pillars, three big scripts that people were living by.
So the first pillar was the leftist one, right?
Yeah.
Socialism, Marxism, the guerrilla movements.
Yeah, you have to remember, this was a global fever in the 60s and 70s. The romance of Che Guevara, fighting imperialism. People genuinely believed a socialist utopia was just around the corner.
It gave them a reason to wake up, a reason to die even.
It did. Then you have pillar two,
The religious ideal.
the Islamist movement, the conviction that Islam is the superior solution.
Yeah.
Not just for your personal life, but for everything. Economics, politics, justice.
The belief that it had the answer key.
It had the answer key in its pocket. And then you have the third pillar, which is an older, deeper one.
The monarchical ideal.
And this isn't just political support for the Shah. It's the ancient Persian concept of far-izadi divine glory. the king as the link between heaven and earth.
So you had these three massive engines driving society. Everyone had something huge to believe in.
And then the revolution happens. And Ghaderi's central argument, the urgent part, is that today, all three of those pillars have crumbled into dust.
Even the religious one. I mean, the Islamists are in power.
They're in power, sure. But the idealism behind it, Ghaderi argues, is fractured. The reality of governing, the corruption, the failures, it shattered that belief that it was the magic solution.
And the socialist dream is gone. The divine monarchy is gone.
All gone. He uses this quote from the poet Akavan Sales that is just chilling.
What is it?
The fist of the sky opened and was disgraced.
Wow. The fist of the sky opened. We all thought there was a gift inside, a solution, and it opened and it was empty.
That is a stencil. A poverty of ideals. The generating force of life has just been shut off.
So the tank is empty. The scripts are all burned. What happens to a society then? Ghaderi says it's not peaceful. This void gives birth to three specific types of nihilism.
And this is where the analysis gets really clinical.
Okay, let's walk through them. Mask number one.
Passive nihilism. This is the nihilism of melancholy, of despair. It's when you realize the script is gone and you just freeze.
It sounds like clinical depression, but on a societal scale.
It is. People in this state feel totally powerless. They have no fire in the soul. So they just wait.
Waiting for what?
For a savior. But not a religious one. They're waiting for an external force. Maybe America invades. Maybe the regime just magically collapses. It's learned helplessness.
A heavy, paralyzed state. But not everyone is paralyzed. Which brings us to type 2.
The consumerist or hedonistic nihilism. It has a great term for this. Herez Zendegi.
Which means something like voracious living.
Exactly. If type 1 is sitting in the dark, type 2 is turning on all the lights and music and eating everything you can find.
And to be clear, this isn't just enjoying nice things. It's more pathological.
It's consumption as an anesthetic. You're not buying what you need. You're consuming to fill the silence. Sex, chatter, goods, images, anything to avoid thinking about that empty fist in the sky.
And Ghaderi points his finger directly at social media as the engine for this.
He says it's perfectly designed for it. It gives you this flat, surface-level engagement. You scroll, you buy, you watch a clip. Microdoses of dopamine to keep the existential dread at bay.
So you have the paralyzed and the distracted. But then there's a third mask. And this is the one Ghaderi is truly afraid of.
Type 3. Aggressive or transgressive nihilism.
The predator.
This is the most dangerous. Because when you remove all grand ideals, you also remove the ethical frameworks that came with them. If there's no God, no karma, no utopia, why follow any rules?
Dostoevsky's, if God is dead, everything is permitted.
Exactly that. The ethical brakes are cut. This nihilism is about eating others to survive. It's a rise in brutal crime, senseless violence, a total lack of empathy.
The law of the jungle in a modern city.
And it's not just street crime. It's political adventurism. It's the willingness to do anything to get ahead because nothing matters. He talks about fantasy making and uses the actor Pejman Jamshidi as a symbol.
And he's not attacking the actor himself.
No, not at all. He's using him as a sociological symbol of how society replaces a painful reality with aggressive entertainment. We create this celebrity Hollywood dynamic to distract us, but underneath, the type 3 predator is just waiting to exploit the system.
So you've got this terrifying mix. The sad, waiting for a savior, the distracted, shopping away the pain, and the wolves eating the sheep.
It's an incredibly volatile cocktail. And of course, you have to ask, what about the government? They're supposed to be the antidote to all this.
Right. They claim to be hyper-ideological.
But this is maybe Ghaderi's most biting point. He argues the system itself is infected by nihilism.
How so?
Look at their actions, not their words. He points to their ideological incoherence. He gives the example of them trying to mix Sassanid, ancient Persian nationalist imagery with their hardline Islamist ideology.
Which is a huge contradiction. The revolution was against that monarchy, that history.
It makes no philosophical sense. But he says they're doing it out of desperation. They know their own religious pillar is cracking. It's not holding the people, so they just grab whatever symbols are lying around to try and stay in power.
It's a cynical remix.
And that cynicism is the proof of their nihilism. They don't believe in their own cause anymore. They just believe in survival.
So the people are lost. The government is lost. Who can possibly fix this?
And that's when he turns back to his audience, the documentary filmmakers.
The people who are supposed to be recording reality.
He puts this huge burden on them. He says, your job isn't just to make art. Your job is to document this shattered cohesion, to show people what's happening.
He mentions the need for a minimum consensus.
And just notice how low he sets that bar. He's not saying, let's find a new grand ideal. He's saying, look, the gods are dead, the dreams are gone. Can we at least agree on enough basic rules so we don't eat each other?
A plea for survival.
Ugh.
A grim baseline.
It's the baseline for a society in his epistle. He's asking the artist to hold up a mirror to show the horror of the aggression and the emptiness of the consumption, hoping people will agree to a social contract just to stop the bleeding.
It's a fascinating take because we always analyze Iran through geopolitics, sanctions, nuclear deals.
The external stuff. And he's saying, no, the political crisis is a symptom of a much deeper philosophical crisis. You can change the government, but if you don't address the nihilism, the void, the new system will just collapse into it too.
It really makes you think about what holds a society together. We think it's laws and economics, but maybe it's just stories. And when the stories break,
A machine stops,
mm-hmm.
or it starts eating its operators.
So from Aristotle to a three-headed monster of despair, consumption, and violence. It's a dark picture, but it's a clarifying one.
It really is. It explains some of the inexplicable violence or apathy you see. It's what happens when the ethical brakes are gone and the sky's fist is empty.
Which brings us to the final thought. Where do we go from here?
Well, Ghaderi leaves us with a question, and I think it's one for everybody, not just in Iran. We live in a world where grand ideals are fading everywhere. We're all a bit skeptical of big narratives.
We're all a little bit nihilistic now.
We are, and the question is, can a society actually survive on just a minimum consensus? Can we run on just contracts and rules and don't hurt me? Or is the human need for a grand ideal, for some higher purpose, some sacred story, is that inevitable?
In other words, if we don't find a new something to believe in, are we doomed to eventually be eaten by nothing?
That is the danger of the void. It demands to be filled.
Something to chew on the next time you find yourself doom scrolling at 2 a.m. Huge thanks to Hatam Ghaderi for the insights and to you for helping us navigate it all.
Always a pleasure to look into the abyss with you.
Keep diving deep.